In today's video, I'm going to be diving into some statistics around home prices, housing inventory, what mortgage rates have been doing recently, something called the silver tsunami, some possible zoning changes that might be happening around Asheville, and a whole lot of other information. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kara and this is my February housing market update. As always, I'm going to be breaking this video up into a few different sections, those being price, inventory, mortgages, local news, and other news. If you're wanting to stay up to date on the real estate market, as well as find out what it's like to actually live in Asheville, hit that subscribe button down below. I have a lot of videos out there and I have a lot planned for the future. Alright, let's dive into today's video. I'm not going to share a whole lot about home prices today, as my last video was an in-depth deep dive on what home prices have looked like in the past, currently, and projections for the future. If you've been wanting to learn more about what home prices might do, I highly recommend checking out that video. I'll leave it linked up here in case you missed it. I go into a lot of different statistics and facts and some really unique ones that I've never shared before, so highly recommend that. But for today, let's start out with price on a national level. The median list price rose just a little bit by 1.4% year over year to $410,000. Additionally, the median income required to purchase a median priced home increased to $84,000. It's no surprise that housing affordability has been a major issue for a lot of prospective homebuyers out there, and I think this statistic really shows that. Let's move on now to price on a local level. In the Asheville region, the average list price is up by 11.8% to $561,000. The average sale price is up by 12.5% year over year to $502,000. At the same time, the median sale price increased by 10.2% to $395,000. I know I sound like a broken record, but home prices have continued to increase across Asheville and in a lot of places across the country. Market conditions really aren't pointing to any significant price decline in the future. It's much more likely that prices are going to stabilize or increase. Like I said earlier, I go into this topic a lot more in depth than my last video, so I'll leave it there for now. Let's move on now to inventory on a national level. Inventory actually increased by 6.5% nationally. Active listings and new listings improved for the third consecutive month, with annual increases of 7.9% and 2.8% respectively. This is a really good sign, as inventory is one of the major factors impacting the current housing market. You may have heard of the term silver tsunami. Basically, this just refers to the fact that there are a lot of retirees out there that might be selling their homes and ultimately create a wave of inventory because they want to sell and downsize, for example. There are certainly conflicting opinions around this topic, and in general, what I've been reading is that that scenario isn't really likely to happen. It is true that people 50 and older own 70% of the homes in the US. When I first read that statistic, I honestly had to reread it a few times because I couldn't really believe that the number was that high, but it does make sense. A lot of boomers and older generations tend to hold more wealth than millennials and Gen Z, and they have definitely benefited from price appreciation over the past few decades and have severely impacted affordability for millennials and Gen Z. According to the 2020 US Census Bureau, 1 in 5 people in the US are over the age of 65. Some people believe that with this many people over 65, surely a bunch of them are going to want to sell their properties and we're going to have a flood of inventory. As I said earlier, this is not necessarily the case. Many people are actually planning on staying in their homes and converting their properties to be more retirement friendly. Others may choose to downsize and then will be competing with millennials and Gen Z for starter homes. Naturally, a lot of older generations will be paying in cash, which will make it even more competitive and difficult for those younger generations. Interestingly, according to a Merrill Lynch Age Wave report, 65% of older Americans are planning to actually stay in their homes. Also, 49% of retirees are actually planning on upsizing. I mentioned this in my last video, but I'm not totally sure why this might be happening. Maybe it's because they're buying multi-generational housing or something like that. I'm honestly not sure. If you guys have any insight on that or possible theories, definitely leave me a comment down below and let me know. All right, let's move on now to inventory on a local level. In the Asheville region, inventory is actually up by 9.4% year over year. However, when we look at a month-to-month basis, it is down 15%. A lot of you probably know that real estate is cyclical, and the fall and winter time tends to be a little bit slower for real estate, whereas spring and summer tend to be more of the busy times. Over the past few years, the real estate market has been pretty much anything but normal, so these cycles weren't really as visible. However, now that things have started to calm down a little bit, I do believe we're going to start to get back to these more normal cycles where we have some slower times of year and more busy times. For me personally, I had an unusually busy December and honestly first half of January as well, though I think that had a lot to do with the fact that interest rates were a bit lower then, and now they've started to increase, which leads me into my next section, which is mortgage news. Mortgage applications for new home purchases was up by 19.1% in January compared to a year ago. That's a pretty big increase. I have been reading more recently about how some increases in inventory that we'll see in the future will be due to new builds because builders know that inventory is very low and have started to ramp up construction a little bit more and offer some home buying incentives. On February 2nd, an unexpectedly strong jobs report jolted interest rates all the way to 6.96%. The Fed now believes there is a 71% likelihood that we'll start to see rate cuts sometime around May. Previously, they were predicting March, but it's highly unlikely that that is going to happen. Consequently, demand has started to drop a bit again. Nearly 90% of U.S. homeowners with active mortgages have rates below 6%. This goes to show that the lock-in effect is still very much in place. Basically, a lot of people have low interest rates and they don't want to sell their properties and give up that low rate. I think that eventually, when rates do start to come down, we will see more buyers come on the market and we will see listings start to increase a little bit as well. But there is just so much pent-up demand that I do not believe that demand will outpace the amount of listings that will come on the market. In other words, there will be a lot more competition for purchasing properties, more competitive offer situations, and prices are likely going to start increasing. I do think it's important to mention here that interest rates in the 2s and 3s really were historically low, and it's highly unlikely that we're going to see rates that low again. If you look at interest rates over many decades, you'll see that they really never hit that except for the past couple years. And where interest rates are right now really isn't that bad. If you speak to anyone who owned a home decades ago, you'll know they would say, oh, I was so happy to lock in my interest rate at 13% or 10%. And it just goes to show that the 6 or 7% interest rate really isn't all that bad. Now, I do understand purchasing power is much worse these days than it was decades ago. Housing affordability is worse now than it's ever been, and that's really not a happy topic to be talking about. But there's nothing that we can do ultimately to turn back time. And if you are wanting to be a homeowner in your lifetime, the best time to buy is always going to be now. Anyone that has held a property for more than a few years will always end up gaining something when they sell that property. Of course, I'm not referring to situations where someone is decreasing the value of their home by not taking care of it and things like that. But generally, if you hold on to a property for a few years, you will see price appreciation, and it ultimately will be a good investment. I think that a lot of times people get too caught up with real estate thinking it's more of a short-term investment, and they kind of compare it to maybe stocks or other sort of investments. But real estate is something that a lot of people hold on to for many years. And if you hold on to it, you're likely going to make money. And also, real estate is more than just an investment. Of course, if you are an investor, then you have to look at properties a little bit differently and look at the more monetary aspects of it. But there are plenty of other reasons to purchase a home too, whether you have a growing family, or you're moving because of a job, or you just want more space to maybe have a garden or a little farm, something like that. Then I feel like the monetary aspect isn't as important as whatever else it might be adding to your life, whether it's happiness or space to do more projects or whatever it is. I think that people get so caught up on the monetary gain with real estate and they kind of forget about why they're wanting a home. A lot of people don't purchase a property to make money necessarily. They're purchasing it for an emotional reason. So anyways, I'll get off my soapbox. Let's talk now about local news. The city of Asheville is discussing changes to the flag lots and cottage development standards in the Uniform Development Ordinance. Asheville has a fair amount of double-sized lots, but zoning restrictions don't necessarily allow people to build another structure on that property. Technical changes to flag lot standards can ultimately increase the number of lots. New standards would change setback requirements and allow the flagpole portion of the lot to be included in lot area size calculations. I realize that a flagpole lot is not really a common term, so I'm going to put up an image here showing you what that even looks like and some new standards that they're proposing. Ultimately, if you picture a flagpole with a flag on it, that's essentially the shape of the lot. So you'll have a home in the front, a driveway along the side of the property to the second structure in the backyard. These zoning changes have already been implemented successfully in places like Raleigh and Durham. They would allow for more development in the city where infrastructure already exists, and allow homeowners to add an ADU without being restricted by current ADU standards. As you may know, if you've ever looked into purchasing a property with an ADU, it can be really difficult to get a loan on it because a loan is naturally going to be for one home, and some lenders really don't like having a second structure or second home on the property, and it can just cause a lot of complications. So changing some of these zoning requirements and ultimately creating two different parcels really could help with this. Nothing has been set in stone yet. It's really just something that the city is talking over and considering. I'm really curious to hear your opinion as well. Is this something that you think would be a benefit? Is the city that you're currently living in currently allowing this type of development? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Definitely leave me a comment down below and let me know. I have a couple other bits of local news to share with you. The first of which I'm pretty bummed about. If you saw my West Asheville video that I put out, I think like 2 years ago at this point, I'll leave it linked up here if you haven't seen it yet. But in that video, I went to one of my all-time favorite breakfast locations, and that is Homeground in West Asheville. And I just heard this morning that they're actually planning on selling that property. The owner wants to spend more time with their family, and I'm just super bummed. I love that place. They had really good smoothies, really good food, and live music and outdoor seating in the summer, and I'm just like so bummed that that's closing. So that's a bit of sad news in my opinion. But I also learned that Chai Pani, I think that's how you pronounce that, I'm not totally sure. I actually haven't been there, but it's a James Beard award-winning restaurant. They have a location in downtown Asheville, right near the Grove Arcade, but it is a very small restaurant. And if you have ever tried to go there, you'll know that the line is quite long, but they were actually planning on moving locations in March or April, I believe, to a place off Banks Avenue in the South Slope area. This building is going to be, I think, 10,000 square feet, and it's going to have 3 times as much seating. So they'll be able to accommodate a lot more people, and hopefully the wait won't be as bad. If you have tried this restaurant, definitely let me know. It's one I've been meaning to try and just haven't made it over there, but I'm curious if you've tried it, if you have any recommendations of maybe which dish I should try whenever I do go. Alright, let's end out this video with some other news, and I do have some pretty positive news in this section for you. Angie, the home improvement website, recently asked homeowners about their major investment plans for their properties over the next 5 years. Bathroom remodels and refinishing basements were pretty popular. However, there were a couple others that I felt were pretty notable. 1 in 3 homeowners are considering installing solar panels. 1 in 4 homeowners are considering upgrading their heating and cooling systems. I believe this shows that current homeowners are becoming more sustainability minded. In case you weren't aware, there are a bunch of rebates and tax incentives that can save you thousands of dollars on these types of upgrades for your property. I'm actually considering doing a video on this topic to share with you some resources about how you can find out about these rebates and tax incentives. Helping people save money and make their homes less toxic is definitely something that I am passionate about. So if this is something you would like to learn more about, please let me know and I would be happy to do more videos on this topic. Earlier in this video, I alluded to the fact that homeowners are staying in their properties a lot longer nowadays than they were many years ago. More specifically, the average homeowner has been in their same home for about 12 years. This is double the number that we saw in 2005. The last bit of news I have for you today is regarding first-time homebuyers. First-time homebuyers made up 32% of sales in December, which was up from 31% in November and 28% in October. We're starting to see slow incremental increases in the number of first-time homebuyers purchasing properties. This may suggest that homebuyers and sellers are accepting higher interest rates and home prices as the new normal. Well, that is everything for today's video, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed it. As always, if you would like a copy of my free home buyer guide, I will leave my contact info here on the screen as well as in the description box down below. Also, if you are a potential home seller around Asheville and are looking for a free comparative market analysis on your property, I am more than happy to do that and basically give you an idea of what it might sell for in today's market. Additionally, if you have any questions from today's video, or maybe the real estate market or something about Asheville, I'm more than happy to chat with you and answer any of your questions. Reach out to me anytime. I love to hear from you guys. Don't forget to hit that like button, leave me a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with your family and friends. Also, my next video is a really fun one. Over the weekend, Ian and I went to the Celtic Festival in Asheville. We had so much fun. There were some really great music, food, drinks, different vendors. There were Highland cows, there were outdoor sports, just a lot of really cool stuff and just a really fun time. So I did film that and I think it's going to be a really fun vlog. So hit the bell as well to be notified of when future videos come out. I think you guys are really going to enjoy that one. All right, everyone. Well, I will see you very soon in the next one.